Have you been affected by suicide? You're not alone. You belong to a strong community united together to fight suicide. We hope you find some helpful information in this interview. Join X96 and Broadway Media for the Out of the Darkness experience on September 12th. Register or donate today at afsp.org/SLC or visit x96.com to learn how you can get involved. This content is made possible in part by doTERRA.
I think we have Javier on the phone, don't we?
Do we? Is Javier there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Javier, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're well. I'm going to pronounce your last name and see if I get it correct. Is it Alegre?
That's correct.
Javier Alegre is the Executive Director for Latino Behavioral Health Services. And we are going to be talking to Javier about suicide, particularly in the Latino population. Now, the reason we're talking about it today, and we're going to be addressing this subject for the rest of the month and into September, because as many of you know, X96 and Broadway Media has participated in the Out of the Darkness walk for suicide prevention for many years now. I forget how many years exactly in a row we've done this. This year it's a little different because we can't have this big walk with thousands of people and raise funds that way. So we're going to have to do something virtually, and we'll be talking more about that. And we're going to be talking more about suicide prevention in small doses along the way here on the radio. Javier, the Latino Behavioral Health Sciences is a nonprofit grassroots organization created to minimize the disparities in access to mental health services among the underserved Latino population of Utah. Javier, is there a greater instance of suicide rates among Latino people?
Well, in as a per capita and in general, yes, there is. The population, the Latino population, it's highly impacted by many of the gaps and needs that exist in the healthcare system and also in the behavioral health care system. So there are a larger number of gaps. And what I mean by that is there aren't very many services that are available for the Latino Hispanic community that are actually culturally relevant or language specific. So the majority of the services that are available, which are plenty and many are doing fantastic work, are not necessarily very impactful for the Latino community.
The services that are available are harder to access. Is it more difficult to make the Latino population aware of what services there are available? Yes.
The reality is that the majority of the Latino community does not access mainstream services for multiple reasons. Some of them are financial constraints. Others are underinsured, uninsured, language barriers, etc. So it's not that they're difficult to reach or difficult to access. But the barriers between them are larger and more spread than other communities. And by other communities, I don't mean other ethnic minority communities. I mean the mainstream community.
What about Javier? What about culturally? Suicide is, we call it the out of the darkness walk because the attempt is to bring suicide out of the darkness and into the light, and to talk about it frankly and openly. And that's difficult for any population to do, it seems. The Anglo population. Is it more difficult for culturally for Latino people to talk about it?
I believe so. I think, like you had mentioned, it's difficult to have these conversations regardless of culture or ethnic background. However, there is an element of culture within the Hispanic and Latino community that has more beliefs or traditions embedded into the everyday lives. So talking about talking about mental wellness or even mental health is difficult for the Latino community. That is something that we didn't talk about. That's something that we said, you'll be fine, you're okay, don't worry about it, or don't talk about it, or there isn't.
Yeah. So there and there are pressures and problems that for like the Anglo population, there are pressures and problems that the Latino population goes through that we can't even begin to imagine. That would also put those kind of mental stresses on the population, right?
Particularly today's environment with COVID-19, the racial and the racial imbalance. I say I'm trying to find the right word to say, but you know what I mean.
Yes, we do.
What is happening in our country these days is difficult. One of the things that Latinos, regardless of socioeconomic status or legal status for that matter, on immigration, constantly are being cautious and thinking about consequences to their everyday actions and everyday life. Other actions that the majority don't think about. It's there's always an element of worry and stress, especially for our kids. So it's interesting because during this time, we have seen a tremendous spike on crisis intervention calls, emotional support needs, therapy, counseling, suicide attempts, and on top of that, you add social isolation as is being required for us to stay healthy and safe. Is one of the main triggers for individuals to experience the incidence of depression and anxiety and consider suicide ideations and whatnot. So it's a difficult time, and more so for us, for the Latino community, because we are experiencing not only these new fears and these new stressors, but we're compounding them on top of all other stresses that we regularly live with. And that goes for all ethnic minorities, right?
I agree.
Just the Latino community.
Yeah. Javier, we have to go. Now, I know the suicide line, 1-800-273-8255. Anybody can call that. Is there something specific that members of the Latino population can go to?
Yes, there is, actually. Our phone lines are open to the public right now for the Latino and Hispanic. We provide services both in English and Spanish, but primarily in Spanish. So if there's someone out there listening, or there's a caseworker or a case manager that is looking for resources, look us up on the web, latinobehavioral.org. Our phone number is 801-935-4447. And you are free to call this number. We will be happy to either help you directly or find the resources that you need to get the support that you're looking for.
Javier, thank you so much. We're going to post this interview online as well at x96.com. All of that information will be there at x96.com as well. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you, Javier.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
While physical distancing has become a norm in our lives, doTERRA is grateful to support Broadway Media's Out of Darkness campaign as a way to keep us socially connected, especially as we seek answers to mental or emotional crisis. If you feel alone and need help, please download the SafeUT app, where licensed clinicians are ready to help you any day, at any time. The doTERRA Healing Hands Foundation is committed to a mission of empowering people and communities worldwide to make positive and sustainable change. We appreciate the opportunity to support our friends and family in Utah.